What's up, everybody? Welcome back to our Kratom Addiction and Recovery Daily Devotional series. So we're still in Job this week, and yesterday we did a pretty cool but heavy set of verses, and today we're going to move on. Today's going to be pretty heavy too, but we're gonna finish out more uplifting by the end of the week. So today we're in Job 26, verses 5 through 14. The dead are in deep anguish, those beneath the waters and all that live in them. The realm of the dead is naked before God. Destruction lies uncovered. He spreads out the northern skies over empty space. He suspends the earth over nothing. He wraps up the waters in his clouds, yet the clouds do not burst under their weight. He covers the face of the full moon, spreading his clouds over it. He marks out the horizon on the face of the waters for a boundary between light and darkness. The pillars of heavens quake against his rebuke. By his power, he churned up the sea. By his wisdom, he cut Rahab to pieces. By his breath, the skies become fair. His hand pierced the gliding serpent. And these are but the outer fringe of his works. How faint the whisper we hear of him. Who then can understand the thunder of his power? Dang, come on. That's so cool. We're going to start getting into the heavy poetry of this book. And I know for some of you that may not be your thing, but I live for this kind of stuff. I have written since I was young. I have loved poetry since I was young. I write songs, as you know, so I just absolutely eat this up. So as with all poetry too, it can be looked at in different ways. And so we're just going to be thinking about this together. This is going to be my perspective. You may get a totally different perspective from things, but we can look at it together and see, if we can draw any deeper meaning from this. So it starts off, the dead are deep in anguish, those beneath the waters and all that live in them. The realm of the dead is naked before God. Destruction lies uncovered. So I've talked about this before, that when I was in kratom addiction, it was like my soul had died within me. It was like I was a shadow of myself. It was like I was the walking dead at the worst of it. I literally was just skin and bones, and my face was completely pale and my eyes were all sunken in, and I was just a shadow of myself. And so I really related to the first part of this, that the dead are in deep anguish, those beneath the waters and all that live in them. The realm of the dead is naked before God. Destruction lies uncovered. And so I look at this and I relate to it, and I look at where I was in my addiction and how my soul had died. And when we juxtapose this with this beautiful expression that comes next, and we look at the difference between, that death of our souls when we're in our addictions, and then how it unfolds into, he spreads out the northern skies over empty space. He suspends the earth over nothing. And then it plays out at the end, and these are but the outer fringe of his works. How faint the whisper we hear of him. Who then can understand the thunder of his power? I feel like that is so beautiful. How it starts off illustrating, the death. And then it plays out into this beautiful poetic expression of some of what God is. And then it talks about how these are but the outer fringes of his work. I've talked about it before that our human minds and our human vocabulary, all of language itself, will never be able to articulate God. We literally cannot even wrap our minds around him. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's absolutely mind-blowing to think about that like there's no amount of thinking, deep thinking, the smartest people on this earth could never even, begin to scratch the surface of like who God is. That's the depths and the vastness of his power, his holiness, his strength, his glory. Like it's literally indescribable in human words. And I like how it says that like, these things that like, he spreads out the northern skies over empty space. He suspends the earth over nothing. He wraps up the waters in his clouds that the clouds do not burst under their weight. He covers the face of the full moon, spreading his clouds over it. He marks the horizon on the face of the waters for a boundary between light and darkness. Man, that's so cool. That's so beautiful. Like, yeah, when we look at that, like those type of things, it's like, wow. Like we're on this planet that's just like suspended in space, and everything in existence is like orchestrated and has this like divine, intelligence, and like, it's God. It's all God that created this and who orchestrates everything. And it's absolutely mind-blowing. The name of my channel, I've talked about this before, is partly because I live on Lake Michigan and I see the horizon every single day. And I experience the presence of God in such a beautiful, palpable way when I was going through the last part of my addiction and in my recovery, where like, I'm in so much pain and anguish, but I would look at the horizon and I would see the sky and like the play between the color of the sky and what light was, going on at that time, and how it played with the color of the water. And I just experienced God's grace and like God's presence pouring over me in such a weird way when I would like look at the horizon. And so this really resonates with me. And, I go off on this like artsy, like poetic tangent, but like the point of it is that when we do juxtapose this with talking about the death of our souls when we're in addiction, the whole point of it is that like, God is all powerful. God is sovereign. God is in control. And no matter where we're at, no matter, how bad our addictions are, excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. So if you hear me like stuffy, or I have a little cough, or might be stumbling over my words a little bit, it's nothing serious. It's just like a head chest cold. So I apologize for that little cough. And if I'm like kind of stumbling over my words a little bit, but yeah, so the point is that like, regardless of what we're going through in the depths of our addiction where our souls die, that like God is more powerful than that. And like when we have the chance to focus on that, when I focus on that horizon, I still do it, man. I'm in awe by this Great Lake. Like I love the ocean. I grew up on the East Coast, and I love the Pacific Northwest where the redwoods meet the ocean. Like I love the oceans, but there's something about this Great Lake that just like, it'll be my home for the rest of my life. And when I look at this horizon and I see that, and I see the expression of just like God's beauty and power through that, it was so, what's the right way to articulate it? It was so integral to my recovery process. Like you're probably thinking like, oh, looking at a horizon, or I'm, living wherever. I live in Colorado. I can't see a horizon, I get that. But like, I'm trying to just share that moment where I was in that part where like my soul had died and I was in those depths. And the point of it is, even if you don't have a horizon, the point of it is finding whatever it is that inspires you about God's power and sovereignty and greatness, and focusing on that. And, if it isn't even anything external, if there's nothing in your external, vision that you can see that like helps to illustrate that for you, like the horizon of Lake Michigan did for me. It can be an internal thing. It can be an internal, just like meditating on God and like seeing his greatness and his power without looking at anything outside of you. So that's the point of today, is that like, despite the death that our souls go through in our addictions, that God is sovereign and that God is all powerful. And it is illustrated so beautifully in this poetic expression in Job. So we're going to pick up tomorrow, and we're going to be going in deep with the poetry, which I can't wait for. And we're going to wrap up. See, I'm stumbling over my words. I apologize. Wrap up the week in this beautiful poetry that's in Job. So I'll see you tomorrow for that. And I love you guys. Bye.